steps into the light tonight. His grin is bright as neon light, in shadows cast by danger's flight. He's ready for the fight, all right. With every step he's feeling bold, a tale of secrets yet untold. Against the dark his heart is cold, a story headlong he'll unfold. Oh, Junior, he's the shining key in battles fought for liberty. The trumpets blare in harmony. The world will watch and they will see. With cunning moves he faces all. In this grand cabal he'll stand tall. The paper lions start to fall as Junior gives his battle call. The golden age will start today with heroes leading the parade. No longer in the shadows stay. His name the world will learn to say. Oh, Junior, he's the shining key in battles fought for liberty. The trumpets blare in harmony. The world will watch and they will see. So Junior, he's the shining key in battles fought for liberty. The trumpets blare in harmony. The world will watch and they will see.
Something has shifted. It's like everything makes sense now. Oof. To anyone else on this this adventure, fucking kudos, because to anyone who's been on it before and has helped all of us coming along afterwards, thank you. It all makes sense. I know, don't worry, I know I've got a shit ton to learn, but something's clicked for me, and I hope it is for all of you. Just like it all makes sense, you know? Yeah, I don't know how else to explain it. There you go. Have a fucking great day.
So Barron Trump releases a tweet, and y'all know he's a young man of few words. So when he does speak, it speaks volumes. And he said, some people would say I'm a pessimist and some people would say I'm a realist. He said, and what I'm about to tell you is that we're on the brink of uncovering a dark legacy that has went on in this country for far too long. He said, if you are struggling to understand how your ex-government could do such awful things, he said, either brace yourself or go hide until someone saves you. He said, I truly believe the dam is breaking, and regardless of how it unfolds, the truth is coming. He said, people on a state and federal level are about to lose sleep. So think about it, y'all. It took the richest man in the world who couldn't be bought to uncover loads of corruption, and they haven't even tapped into 1%. And you know what they say, when you throw a rock at a group of dogs, the one that squeals the loudest is usually the most guilty. Well, when you get people like Elizabeth Warren and all these other people speaking out, being loud, it's because they know that their names are about to be exposed.
face before, my friend, but I don't know if you know who I am. Well, I was there and I saw what you did. I saw it with my own two eyes. So you can wipe off that grin, know where you've been. Some in a packed lies, and I can feel it coming in the air tonight. Oh Lord, well I've been waiting for this moment all my life. Oh Lord, I can feel it coming in the air tonight. Oh Lord, well I've been waiting for this moment all my life. Oh Lord, oh Lord. I remember, don't worry. How could I ever forget? It's the first time and the last time we ever met. But I know the reason why you keep your silence, sir. No, you don't fool me, 'cause the hurt doesn't show, but the pain still grows. So stranger to you and me, I can feel it coming in the air tonight. Oh Lord, I've been waiting for this moment for all my life. Oh Lord, I can feel it coming in the air tonight. Oh Lord, I've been waiting for this moment all my life. Oh Lord, oh Lord, I feel it coming in the air tonight. Oh Lord, I've been waiting for this moment all my life. Oh Lord, oh Lord, I can feel it coming in the air. I feel it coming in the air. I've been waiting for this moment all my
Elon in his rocket ship, taking names and cracking whips. DOGE in his pocket, riding high, cutting red tape. Watch him fly, he's got balls of steel, don't you know? Slashing waste and making dough. USA did, getting the axe. Ending corruption, that's a fact. Dodging haters left and right, crushing norms with all his might. Big ideas in his brain, turning chaos into gain. He's got balls of steel, don't you know? Forgetting rules, he's stealing show. Bureaucracy on the run, Elon's fight has just begun. Standing tall above using DOGE to pay the rent. He's got balls of steel, don't you know? Iron fist, he makes it flow. Kicking out the wasteful crew in the end. It's all brand new. Dodging haters left and right, crushing norms with all his might. Big ideas in his brain, turning chaos into gain. He's got balls of steel, don't you know? Forgetting rules, he's stealing show. Bureaucracy on the run, Elon's fight has just begun. Elon's fight has just begun. Standing tall above the rest, taking on the hardest test. Gutting what's been overspent, using DOGE to pay the rent. He's got balls of steel, don't you know? Iron fist, he makes it flow. Kicking out the wasteful crew in the end. It's all brand new. It's all brand new.
What a tilt. What on Miller. And Miller dropped the gloves and Perico's going to answer. And Perico the other way speeds Eichel into the zone. Flipping it through. Scores. Game tied. As Team USA has answered. And away goes Larkin. It's a 2-on-1. Larkin scores. Dylan Larkin. And Team USA has the lead. Larkin with the open net, across the Gensel, scores! Jake Gensel's got his second, and a clincher here for Team USA. That's going to do it. A hard-fought Team USA victory.
It's called Secret Pizza Party.
Tomorrow we got
Pepper, then you're going to love this book.
pepperoni. Are you all pepperoni?
Here, Sebastian, look.
Pepperoni!
The end.
An old cowboy went riding out one dark and windy day. Up on a ridge he rested as he went along his way. When all at once a mighty herd of red-eyed cows he saw plowing through the ragged skies and up a cloudy draw. Their brands were still on fire and their hooves were made of steel. Their horns were black and shiny and their hot breath he could feel. A bolt of fear went through him as they thundered through the sky, for he saw the riders coming hard and he heard their mournful cry. Yippee-i-oh, faces gaunt, their eyes are blurred, their shirts all soaked with sweat. He's riding hard to catch that herd, but he ain't caught 'em yet. 'Cause they've got to ride forever on that range up in the sky. All the horses snorting fire. As they ride on, hear their cry. As the rider floated on by him, he heard one call his name. If you want to save your soul from hell riding on our range, then cowboy, change your ways. They are with us, you will ride, trying to catch the devil's herd across these endless skies. Yippee-i-oh, yippee-i-oh. Those riders in the sky, those riders in the sky, those riders in the sky.
I think in 50 years we'll look back at, well, I'll be long dead, but wise people look back at the Trump phenomenon and see it as much bigger than the man, but as a realignment of the parties and of American society. And as Bobby Kennedy said last night, in the last election, 2020, Biden voters held 70% of the country's wealth, and Trump voters held 30%. So who's the party of the rich and powerful? Of course, it's the Democratic Party. It's an inversion.
And the Democratic Party is not the Democratic Party that I grew up with. It's not the Democratic Party of Robert Kennedy or John Kennedy. That was the party of peace. It was the party of civil rights and constitutional rights. It's now the party of censorship and surveillance and war. The Democratic Party is now the party of big pharma, big tech, big military industrial complex, the big banks, Wall Street, big data, and the big media. They've forgotten about the constituencies that I grew up with in the Democratic Party, the cops, the firefighters, the labor unions. The Democratic Party, when I was growing up, was the party of the poor, the working poor, the middle class. Today, it's the party of the super rich.
I, like many other patriots, are pigs in shit today. If you don't know what that means, it means we're happy as fuck. Because we're sitting back now, watching the chaos, watching the self-loathing purge happening with the Democrat Party. Look at these fucking losers. Maxine Waters, Chuck Schumer, Pocahontas, AOC, Jeffries, all calling for banging on the door of the Board of Education because it's going to be overhauled and they have nothing to do. They can't fucking change it. Everything's changing. See, because you Democrats fucked it all up. Not only for everybody in the country, specifically for you fucking Democrats. Now, you moderates are the ones to blame because you let your radicals take this to the moon. We're supposed to seesaw like this, conservative, liberal, and we clash, and then we stay right here in this fucking ball. But you Democrats let the radicals in your party take it to the fucking moon and fucked it all up, and now it's punching you and your fat fucking head. See, the Board of Education is going to change up now. No more letting kids and teaching kids that men can have babies and that they could cut their dicks off and be a girl if they want to in school without telling mommy or daddy. That shit's all changing. No more boys and men and burly, hairy men walking into a little girl's locker room or bathroom or in sports where these big men could smash the women's faces open. And that's all over. See, and you can't handle it. The border, all of a sudden you're upset because because we're deporting illegal, violent criminals, and you can't handle it all. You motherfucking Democrats are eating yourselves alive. You're ripping your bodies inside out, crawling with maggots. We can see the bone marrow inside your bones and your skeleton, and you're just eating each other, and it is fucking priceless. Because you made this fucking bed and you got to sleep in it, bed bugs and all.
in some of the latest slides how this disease, which we surmised early on, started off in the male homosexual population in this country. Not that there was anything intrinsically different or wrong or what have you about homosexuality. It was very simple. It's straightforward epidemiology. You take an infectious agent and you introduce it into a population in which the spread among those individuals, if it's sexual contact spread, it's a perfect setup to spread. In any event, what we had was a concentration of cases, as you'll see here, in the New York metropolitan area, New York City and New Jersey, and in Los Angeles. Take an infectious agent and you introduce it into a population. You take an infectious agent and you introduce it into a population. You take an infectious agent and you introduce it into a population in which the spread among those individuals, if it's sexual contact spread, it's a perfect setup to spread.
One of the commitments that I made to the American people was that we would do a better job here in Washington in rooting out wasteful spending. We don't need to wait for Congress in order to do something about wasteful spending that's out there.
You fucker! You laughed, you mocked, you shut us down. Called us names, tried to run us out. You pushed too hard, took too much. Now you're the ones who've lost their touch. You rigged the game, you changed the rules. Gaslit the world, played us for fools. But tides have turned, the storm is near. Cry all you want, we're still here. Faithful, fuck around and find out. You tried to rule, but your time ran out. Faithful, the silent will stay quiet now. We're taking back what you burned to the ground. Censorship, lockdowns, all your control. Built your throne on a house of gold. Now you panic, now you cry. Tears don't work, truth don't lie. The games are done, the mask fell off. No more lies, we've had enough. You played with fire, now taste the flame. This time, we're naming names. Faithful, fuck around and find out. You tried to rule, but your time ran out. Faithful, the silent won't stay quiet now. We're taking back what you burned to the ground. You called us threats, you called us extreme, but we remember everything. From 24 and beyond, take your bets, 'cause guess what? We ain't done yet. Faithful, fuck around and find out. Your kingdom's crumbled, your luck ran out. Faithful, no more games, no more doubt. You lit the fire, now it's burning you down.
All right. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Wasn't sure if you could hear me there. All right, guys. Everybody loved that last song so much, I had to bring it back. I mean, fuck around and find out. It's awesome. That's the thing. I think all of us have a little bit of peace and a little bit of fight in us, but all this stuff coming out lately, it sort of makes the fight side of you come out more and more, especially when you watch these clips from Anthony Fauci. It's like such a peaceful man now I've become, but if you put him in front of me, I might just fun stuff, huh? So we got a good show tonight. We're gonna look at these updates, not a whole lot, but some fun stuff and some fun videos. And then there's some new Wano Savin that looks pretty good. I wanted to watch it earlier, but I decided I would wait for you guys. Unemployment in Washington, D.C. surging up 36% in 2 weeks. Go figure. I guess that was going to happen, huh? It's probably going to go up a lot more. That's why everybody's moving out of there. Moving out, running away, lawyering up. Fun stuff. Since DOGE began discussing mass layoffs, the median home price in Washington has also fallen by $139,000. I think that's just going to keep dropping too as everybody puts their homes on the market. I will give you $3. No, $2.25. It's my last offer. This might just be going against the Constitution. New amnesty program offers relief to thousands of undocumented immigrants in Michigan. And if it isn't going against the Constitution, it's definitely going against Trump's new chopping block executive orders. So, good luck, Michigan. You are on your own. Reese Politics says it's all but confirmed that the next target of DOGE is the Securities and Exchange Commission. Representative Maxine Waters wrote a panic letter to Chairman Mark Ueda, warning him that Elon digging into potential corruption at the SEC will have consequences in our nation's investors. They're always worrying about the money, aren't they? It's always money. The only consequences for when big balls and DOGE go after the SEC will be showing how massively corrupt market manipulation. Aren't you guys getting tired of talking about the money? Me too. On a turn of events, North Korea says it will welcome British refugees fleeing from Keir Starmer's dictatorship. Who's going? Anybody? No? Okay. Which one's worse than the other? Might take North Korea. Yeah, I mean, this USAID stuff, on the good side of things, everybody everywhere, all over the place is talking about the corruption and where the money's been going. So for the people that don't normally talk about this stuff, it's kind of a good thing, But you can't escape it. That's for sure. Everyone's saying that DOGE's next target might just be Fort Knox, seeing if the gold reserve even exists, right? U.S. gold reserves, last audited in 1974, remain shrouded in secrecy. Elon Musk's recent query sheds light on decades of opacity. It's time for a full accounting of our gold. Yeah, they've tried to do this before, 7 other times apparently. Some people think that gold is not even there, including Ron Paul, but remains to be seen. In other news, Ukrainian President Zelensky has lost his ever-loving mind. He's requesting $250 billion in financial assistance from Western countries, and at the same time throwing a temper tantrum, insisting that he will never accept any peace deal between the U.S. and Russia regarding Ukraine unless he is directly involved. There's either going to be a big revolution in Ukraine and they're going to kick the shit out of that guy, or Ukraine's going to end up getting blown off the map, probably. So he might want to tiptoe on back home, wherever home is for him. A report reveals that the Trump prosecutors were backed by $27 million in U.S. aid funding. I think we had talked about this a little bit. All these people going against him, trying to impeach him, yada, yada, yada. That's where all the money comes from. We've been paying for it the whole time. A federal judge has sided with Elon Musk and DOGE, rejecting an effort to block them from accessing government information systems. This is a huge win. They've got the green light to fully dig into Elizabeth Warren's CFBPB, HHS, and the Department of Labor. It's finally nice to have an actual judge that, you know, thinks about the consequences of breaking the law, going against God, lying. I don't know. Emergency officials in New York City are working to quarantine 2 individuals suspected of Ebola exposure at a walk-in clinic. The patients traveled from Uganda. Yeah, that's not really too big there, but there are cases of bird flu breaking out, and surprisingly, in Texas, one of I guess the biggest case of measles going around since way back, something like that. That narrows it down, right? Way back. Way back. Okay. David Hogg was exposed for directing money he controlled into a PAC, effectively using it to funnel funds back to himself. It's always about the money. Always about the money. This, I don't know why somebody would actually post this. Somebody put this up. Is this it? Is this the emergency broadcast system? Is this the end? It's a test. You see the word test there, guys? You realize they test these things like once a week, at least once a month. I had to laugh at that just a little bit. And for my first video today, I had to give it a name, and I know it's going to sound inappropriate, but it's called Fuck You, Struck You, It Doesn't Make It All Right.
At every step, at every investigative decision, there are multiple layers of people above me, the assistant director, executive assistant director, deputy director, and director of the FBI, and multiple layers of people below me, section chiefs, supervisors, unit chiefs, case agents, and analysts, all of whom were involved in all of these decisions.
That doesn't make it okay. Doesn't make it all right. They knew about it, and all these people were above me, so I just kept on breaking the law. Doesn't make it all right. Doesn't make it all right in the very least. Oh, yeah, so Peter Strzok, he wiped his X account. Had to put that out there. I feel like we should start with a little bit more fun. This video, while not necessarily news, is just, it's absolutely hilarious. Okay, I suppose we should, I forgot I did have a Peter Strzok video. We'll watch it first.
And just to remind you who Lisa, not you, but the audience, who Lisa Page and Peter Strzok were, you have the #1 lawyer responsible for the Russiagate investigation and the #1 FBI agent. These two were literally, while having an affair, texting each other before the election and saying they would stop candidate Trump from being president. I mean, just hit pause on that alone. The individuals charged to lead the investigation into the Trump campaign were texting each other before the election saying all the ways that they would stop it.
I still never understood why the FBI had Peter Strzok talking to the Trump campaign and the Clinton campaign. Is it normal to have one guy investigating? I don't know. Feels like there should have been more to that. Anyway, while it's a bit colorful, this has got to be the funniest video I've ever seen in my life. So enjoy it at least, and then we'll get to a couple stories, and then we'll get to 107.
I'm going to show you a video that is probably going to make chicks pregnant. So there's a crazy video of the ATF going to a house, and the ATF is like, hey, you bought some guns, we need to see if you still have them because of straw purchase. A complete violation of your Second Amendment, your Fourth Amendment, and just, basic common sense and humanity. Here's where the ATF agents, they go to one dude's house, and the dude goes, oh yeah, I'm going to go get it. Hold on a sec. Closes the door, calls the cops. He goes, there's somebody out here pretending to be a cop who wants to see my guns. And that's how you get this confrontation right here.
Hey, turn around. Let me see your hands. Turn around. Let me see your hands. Okay, let me see your hands. I need to see some ID. Get on the ground. Get on the ground now. Get on the ground.
What's your deal?
Get on the ground now!
I'm a federal agent.
917-110-3.
I'm a federal agent.
Get on the ground so I can find out who you are!
It ain't happening.
This is how you get shot.
I got my ID.
Do not reach for your waist! Keep your hands up!
Dude, why would I have an Olay shit?
Get your hands up!
Get
on the ground!
Face down now!
Now!
Face down! You guys are making a big mistake.
You are the one making a mistake!
And then he finds, I get on the ground! I'm a federal agent! If that got you off, have a cigarette, get ready for round 2 because it gets way better.
Wait a second.
Do not resist!
I'm not resisting.
You're acting like a moron!
Wait a second. Wait a second. Wait a second. No, don't do this. Wait a second. I got a medical condition. Get my license out of my pocket.
We're getting you secured first.
Please, wait. No. Hold on. I'm hyperventilating.
I can't breathe.
I'm not.
Stop resisting.
Would you please get my ID out of my left pocket?
Stop
I'm
resisting.
begging you. My wife's please.
My wife's pregnant. Where did that come from?
Sir, please.
Joe, get your taser out.
My federal friend.
Get your taser out, Joe.
No, don't do that.
Don't make me.
Ow, don't do that. Okay.
Get him cuffed. Get him cuffed.
Don't taste me, bro. I'm a federal agent. Oh, fuck you, Patriots not win. Somebody show me Nancy Pelosi's floppy tits. Quick. Medical emergency.
I'm sorry, guys. Oh my God, that was hilarious. The ATF comes to your home and you called the police on them. I wonder if he got in trouble for that later on. They ended up tasing that guy. That's terrible. Yeah. I mean, I thought you guys might need a little laugh today. Trump was at Daytona today. He did a little interview. Take a look real quick.
I'm joined now by the President of the United States. Mr. President, 5 years ago, we were standing in this very spot. What brings you back to the great American race?
I think it's fantastic. It's great for the country. Our country is doing well again, and we have spirit all over the world. There's spirit again. We brought it back. and it's been less than 4 weeks. So you'll see what we do in a little period of time. It's going to only get better, but this is very exciting.
You brought your granddaughter. I know some of your other family members are here. You get to take a ride around in the Beast. What is that like?
I'll let you know in about 2 minutes because they're going to be going quite quickly, I understand.
And you just got to meet some of the drivers. Are you going to get on the radio again and talk to them before the start of this?
And I say they have a lot of courage doing this. I see it, and I've been here, and they have a lot of guts, as they would say.
Mr. President, enjoy your time.
Thank you very much.
Mike.
Thank you, Jamie. What a day in Daytona, the 67th annual Daytona 500.
President Trump there with his granddaughter at Daytona today. That looked pretty fun to be there, honestly. Wasn't that video in the intro messed up with Jennifer Garner, the pizza party book? God, those people are messed up. Moving right along here.
Tony Fauci made sure that none of those kids had guardians, which is illegal. And then he hid what he was doing from the boards. He took foster homes in 6 states and he turned them over to the pharmaceutical industry. He made sure that the people who were running those foster homes did not even have medical training. Most of them were immigrants who came from the Dominican Republic. They knew nothing about medicine or responsibilities, and they were sickened when they realized slowly what they were involved in doing to these children, that they were torturing these children. And you know, there's videos of these children, an old BBC documentary that will make you cry. I promise you cannot look at these without weeping. One of these kids, a 12-year-old who's trying to protect the 8-year-old, and he has a tube in his stomach. And he's telling them, I tried to fight them, and this is what they do if you fight them. You can't fight them. You need to just take the drugs. And the kids didn't want to take them because the drugs were making them horribly sick. And Celia Farber, who's this amazing researcher who worked on this chapter for me and did a lot of the original research on it, she actually went up to Hawthorne, New York, to the Gates of Heaven Cemetery. She found the cemetery where Fauci was disposing of the corpses of these children who died in his illegal experiments. She found an open pit. It was actually covered by an astroturf carpet. She opened the astroturf carpet and she saw hundreds and hundreds of tiny little coffins stacked haphazardly upon each other, because these are children who have no parents and nobody was there to protect them. And Tony Fauci treated them as collateral damage. And, his objective was to enlarge the markets for these pharmaceutical companies who he had partnered with by allowing HIV, these toxic chemotherapy drugs, to be given to children. And then the next experiments, which are in the next chapter, which are equally horrendous, is his experiments on Africans.
So what he's telling you there is Dr. Fauci used to take foster kids and kids that had no families and experimented on them and then buried them away where nobody would find them again. And I know we have talked about that in the past, but I felt the need to bring it up again because more and more, I think we should hand that man over to Russia. But nonetheless, I wanted to show you one more video with RFK and kind of what he wants to do and yada yada.
Do you think the COVID vaccine was safe and the boosters were safe? I mean, a lot of people talk about adverse effects.
We don't have good data on it, and that is a crime. The fact that we don't have a surveillance system that actually works. In 2010, CDC has a surveillance system called the Vaccine Adverse Event Reporting System, and it's supposed to pick up injuries. But CDC did a study of that system in 2010, and that study said, and this is a published study by CDC, that it captures less than 1% of the vaccine injuries. That's inexcusable. Congress has repeatedly, and the Institute of Medicine, the National Academy of Sciences, have repeatedly ordered CDC to put together a better vaccine.
Will you require it?
And we will do that right away.
There's rumors.
Yeah, it's really just about the the simple fact that these things were never properly tested, like at all. But I wanted to move on here and real quick show you this video that Pete Hegseth put out a day or two ago.
That's right, Bragg, he's back. We're up early this morning doing PT with 1st Battalion, 10th Special Forces Group, the original Green Berets. Looking forward to it.
Friends, thank you, Secretary Healy, for your leadership, both in hosting and now leading the UDCG. We are at, as you said, Mr. Secretary, a critical moment. As the war approaches its 3rd anniversary, our message is clear. The bloodshed must stop, and this war must end. It is great to be here at NATO with 31 allies, also with my wife Jenny, who's been meeting with families of U.S. troops, both here in Germany, and we're heading to Poland right after this as well. That's what this is all about for me, for President Trump, and the Defense Department. I also want to express a special thanks to the Secretary General, Secretary General Ruta, for your boldness, for your friendship, for your leadership, and most especially for your urgency of the matter at hand, which is great to see from the leader of NATO. NATO is a great alliance, the most successful defense alliance in history. But to endure for the future, our partners must do far more for Europe's defense. We must make NATO great again. This administration believes in alliances, deeply believes in alliances. But make no mistake, President Trump will not allow anyone to turn Uncle Sam into Uncle Sucker.
Make NATO great again. That's an odd one, huh? Not a fan of that one. Not so much as make America healthy again. But moving on here, another video I wanted to share with you guys from the past, a reminder.
Very clear violations of the Espionage Act and really no issue about intent despite President Obama proclaiming otherwise. And of course, you realize the reason that Hillary had to be protected was because he was writing her on that secret server using an alias, which shows that he damn well knew and had approved in advance her use of the secret unsecured server. On top of that, there's the Anthony Weiner laptop, which I don't know if you heard this. I wrote an article about that too. 675,000 Clinton emails when they got Anthony Weiner's laptop in a search warrant because of all his sex perversion issues. It was all the Clinton emails, the Clinton Foundation, her Secretary of State emails, Huma Abedin's emails. Lots of people emailed Huma as a proxy for Hillary, and it included what Comey called the sorry, I must wave my hands more than most people. The golden emails, because they were the BlackBerry backup emails that they were supposedly just looking for everywhere very diligently. Well, guess what they did when they found them on the Weiner laptop? They got a search warrant for things that didn't include the BlackBerry backup emails. So when they told us, when he stood there and said that day, oh, you know, we've reviewed all the emails now, there's nothing there, that was a bald-faced lie. They specifically did not look at the BlackBerry backups, and they didn't look at a fraction of the emails on Anthony Weiner's laptop. So one of the things, if I were the president, I'd do is demand the Anthony Weiner laptop and get it to the most trusted person in the military to take apart everything on it and then start using it. There's a lot that can be prosecuted, I have no doubt, on that laptop. In fact, I heard that the New York police officers who saw some of it, even though they're hardened investigators, literally had to go throw up. It's bad.
So what do you guys think? Number one, I didn't never realize that Anthony Weiner's laptop had pretty much all of those emails of Hillary Clinton's 600-some thousand emails. And we always figured in the government-wise they had those emails, but of course they overlooked those emails and text messages during the investigation. What she's saying now is the Trump administration should bring it out, release it, prosecute on it. And I kind of think she's right. Don't you guys? If they actually have that stuff still and it wasn't completely destroyed, it might just be time for the world to see all of that stuff. So moving forward here.
You see military tribunals taking place in the near future?
They have been going on.
Okay, so there's a lot. I'm 1 foot in, 1 foot out of that. I know what Derek Johnson says and this and that.
This isn't Derek Johnson. This is, I have, because I worked at the Department of Defense here in the UK, I have security clearance on both sides. Not as high with the UK, but one of the people there has kept me up to date. In fact, let me find this one text, because your viewers and listeners might, find it maybe comforting.
You're allowed to share this?
Well, this is my UK military. Wait till you hear what I share. The Navy JAG is the most effective, efficient, and swift legal system. That's all I want to know, frankly. Okay, he sent this to me actually last Tuesday. Space Force is very real to us. Air Vice Marshal Paul Godfrey went live 2021 to announce UK Space Force and the military global alliance is very real, with the Russians doing the hard uplifting. Major General William Walker announced live on Morning News in front of the Ring Fence, D.C., on the third Monday of January, Martin Luther King Day. We are here to provide a smooth transition to military power.
Allow me to say how proud I am of the almost 25,000 National Guardsmen who have come in from all 50 states and territories to help support the Secret Service and the police departments with a peaceful transition of military power.
Weeks later, 9 of 11 heads of the Pentagon were retired. Now, this is from my UK source telling me this.
Yeah. It's not really kicking off the way they planned. I mean, we haven't had any civil unrest here in America yet. People aren't really, I haven't seen any inciting or any terrorist attacks yet. Maybe some shootings here and there.
David, maybe what they're doing is they're taking out some of these people behind the scenes.
That's what I was going to get at next. That's what was my next question for you. Is there bigger moves that we're not aware of behind the scenes that are fizzling this?
Absolutely, including things that I'm never specifically told, but I am very intuitive and pick up different things that different people can tell me, and then I put it together. Absolutely. They've been working their behinds off. I know that what needs to be taken care of, whether it's taking all the money, the property, the everything of someone, or sequestering them away, it's happening.
What's your thoughts on the Rothschilds losing their estates and doing these auctions? I mean, it seems to me that's kind of scary. To me?
That's a sign.
Yeah.
That's a sign. They haven't had to do it for 700 years.
So I just wanted to show you guys that to remind you that we are further along, I believe, than we're led to believe. There are what they release is sort of for what you would say the regular people. Not that we're not regular people. It's just we've been paying attention to something else that other people haven't been paying attention to. And I do think we're much further along with all the accounting stuff and yada yada. Anyway, I got one more video I want to show you guys before we jump to the new Wano Savin video, one that I ran across.
When you're on long walks and you're looking up at the stars, just have a conversation with the universe. Someone's listening, and many of us have multiple lifetimes. Many of us have come from the future back here. There is a portion of ourselves still there. Have you heard about the Blue Brain Project? Okay. The Blue Brain Project is going on in Switzerland, and we'll end it with this. What they did was they took several pieces of technology, MRI and other pieces of equipment, and they created a brain topology device. This device has been able to completely map the human brain. What they discovered when they started to take this thing apart is that then they started with 1,500 people. Every single one of those people had multi-dimensional structures in their brain. And using an AI system, they were able to figure out that some of those structures, and some were 5th, some were 6th, going all the way up to 11th dimension in our brains. And James, these structures were turned on. They were interacting with something, somewhere. We're special. We're really, really awesome. And everybody needs to know this. We weren't a pool of chemicals that was a mistake. That's such horseshit. There is a true, genuine divinity to us.
Oh, I hate that bloop, bloop at the end of those TikTok videos. I have not watched this episode yet, but anyway, I thought that little video was kind of interesting. We'll play this one video. Is there something I should know about it, Lee, before I play it? I've not seen it yet, actually. You saw it? Okay. Well, let's go ahead and start it, and I'll be in the chat. We'll see what it's about.
don't get caught up into this my God's bigger than your God thing, or my God's the only God. And, and don't worship the little g gods either that are in between, make your own personal connection. Greetings, everybody. We're going to have a real short intro here. We've got 107, and we had quite a talk and earlier, and we're going to see if we can get some of that. I know we're going to have 2 or 3 more shows after this, but we really touched on a lot of areas. So if you don't know 107, you haven't been paying attention. Google it. So anyway, on that note, we're going to go ahead and kick it off.
With the volcano.
Yeah, it's going on really bad. A lot of fog in the air right now.
I haven't even heard from anybody. How is the volcano doing down there right now? I knew it had gone off about a month ago.
Yeah, it's going off big time right now.
Is it?
Yeah,
I might have to.
It started up again. I told people with the massive coronal hole aiming towards the Earth that it was going to erupt again, even bigger, and sure enough, it did.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And you're talking about the what's going on the sun right now.
Yeah. I've God, since 40 years ago, I was talking about how the solar flares and CMAs, they create changes in society. They create severe weather. They create an increase in earthquake and volcanic activity. And, the dynamics of that. And then other people took it and started using it in their programs and stuff, which was interesting. But
well, let me ask you this. And of course, James, this is the first show you and I have done together. I hope we do some other ones too.
Yeah.
I have an audience that is, I think, far more sophisticated than most audiences. It's a pretty wide range of personalities and perception of the world around them. Myself, the things that I enjoy talking about and that are important to me are biblically based, scripturally based. I'm a Christian. I believe that God took on flesh like we put on a coat and then dwelt among us to come and pay a price or something that had that we define as sin, some departure from perfection and holiness and goodness that occurred within the human race and back in the garden, and that only God himself could step in the gap and reconcile this problem. We, being damaged, couldn't be made perfect again by our own actions or any other outside forces action, that it took God himself stepping into our world and then providing that option. But if he forced it on us, then it wouldn't be free decision. It'd be like a computer operator controlling the outcome in some way. And God doesn't need automatons. He desires that we choose to be with him, like him, to enjoy the perfection of a world according to his will. And so, but it has to be a choice. So he provided us with that option by his own interaction into our world. That said, there's the things that you're observing, and for anybody that's listening that's not familiar with what James is looking at, you're seeing actions and interactions in our physical world and also in this kind of ethereal spiritual world. And that's what your life's work is really all about, is mapping and tracking these interactions and trying to understand or interpret, define what these entities are, these beings are, these observations are, and make sense of it, that for most of the world, the term I think that we would have to apply to it would be some type of extraterrestrial interaction, intervention potentially, manifestations, that there's some crossroads or nexus of terms that, say, from a spiritual side, we're seeing them as demons, angels, or from most people, I would say in the much of the natural world, they would say it's aliens, it's reptilians, it's other forms of life, physicality, and spiritual, but that is alien to Earth itself, interacting with us. And so I think there's some conversation that as a Christian, we can't just blow it off as silliness or in a Hollywood stance or something like that. And there's much reality to it, which you can attest to from your own observations, interactions. So I think it's actually a fun, important conversation. And actually, the reason I want my audience to kind of listen, I do an engagement like this from a really a kind of a collegial standpoint. I think you and I are very much, alike in some of our thoughts and observations and interests. We might use some different terms or words in some places, but we're both very fascinated with this ethereal goings on and even the impact into the politics out across the planet and this crucial moment that we're in. So, and there's a lot of very real, everybody can go look at it, whether you're talking to coronal mass ejection and things going on in the sun and the physical things happening in the world around us as a result of it in a very physical sense. Just like right now, this is the foggiest, or as we call it here in the islands, volcanic mist that I've seen that I can remember in many, many years. I'm looking out here and, like, for example, there's a cruise ship here in town today, here in Kona. And every time I've been up here, and people go back and look at other videos that I've done from up here, and the cruise ships and all of town are very crystal clear. Today, that is not crystal clear. That looks foggy, but here we call it vlog or vog. So, did I say the way that how we think is that, did I define it well for people?
Yeah, similar. I have a real strong foundation in Christ, and as well, which turns some people off talking about that. To me, when I had my near-death experiences and everything else, everybody else were spooks to me. I didn't want to talk to them. I wanted to talk to Jesus or Mary or one of the the main people that we all know about, and that was how I began my journey. And then I went through the Teachings of the Inner Christ ministries and all of that. And I went through the Tibetan Foundation, and I talked to elders from all nations. And it was like a lifelong quest, 40 years intensely, in studying with all the different cultures. And I started seeing the common threads, the truths, like the universal law that is within all cultures. And then they got distorted as well, because of other experiences. So I mean, that's where I'm coming from. I always measure everything against that. Does this empower the individual to make their own personal connection with God, Creator, Yeshua, or Jesus, whatever name you want to give them? Or is this aligned with universal law, which is, universal peace, brother, sister, love, individual freedom, and prosperity for everyone, or is this self-serving? Is this creating an external God, or the see me, dig me program that's going on so much, or is this a big distraction? So that's what I have my foundation because of my near-death experiences. I went through the tunnel everybody talks about, and and hung out with this just pure, unconditionally loving, joyous, blissful energy. I can't even explain it. It wasn't even physical. It was just pure consciousness and energy, and it was overwhelming. And then that's where I'm coming down the vibrational continuum, experiencing all the other things and trying to make sense out of them. But that's kind of where I'm coming from.
Well, let me ask you this. A lot of the terms that you use to many Christians, they almost come across as New Age-ish. And, one of the things you and I talked about off the air, and I appreciate you taking a few minutes with me before we started, but, one of my favorite, and I've written about this a number of times, but one of my favorite episodes of Star Trek, the episode was actually shot as part of a pilot and then later incorporated into the series sometime later as an actual episode is a menagerie. And in menagerie, there's a race that becomes this place that we're not supposed to journey to. We can't go there because they have the ability to manipulate your mind so completely that you could think you're eating an ice cream cone and you're licking on a hot coal. You're crashing your spaceship into the sun thinking you're, going to another galaxy or something. And so they can manipulate your mind to see and believe things that are not true. And therefore, you can't function, uh, uh, you know, uh, individually because everything you think is your reality is their imprint on your reality. They can make you see and do and act in certain ways based on illusions and trickery, mind games. And so, within even your own experience, for me, Christ is a reference, and God putting on human flesh like we put on a coat and then walking amongst us, and this Messiah side. There's lots of religions in the world, but they don't purport to have God come in to step in the way for them. They have gods that come in and manage and control them, little g gods.
Yeah.
And so within your experience, I'm thinking of, what's his name that would give the readings for health purposes?
Edgar Cayce.
Edgar Cayce. Edgar Cayce was kind of slow-witted as a kid. He admits it, and others around him admit it. Yet he was with one of the great pastors at the time, and he had an experience where he fell off a fence post where he was sitting, he landed on his head and hurt himself severely. But after that, strange things started to happen. And so, for example, he could put a book underneath his head when he went to sleep at night, wake up in the morning, and you could open it to any page in the book, huge, thick medical books, things like that, and ask him about the second paragraph on page 326. And he could quote it to you verbatim. He'd never cracked the book open. It was just that he could get it in his mind. So this defies logic in a physical world. And then he considered this a gift from God. Today, we would say in many church experiences that this was somehow alien to Christianity. And yet, when you get right back into it, visions and dreams of future events and outcomes, is that just the mind itself doing very intricate calculations and coming to a result as to what was going to happen at some future point or an idea? Or was that some kind of divine download, be it God himself or angelic messengers of God, bringing something and putting it into the mind or heart of a man. You know, Daniel, an angel coming from the future, walking across time like we walk across the street, and telling Daniel that he came from the end times where he was a direct personal witness. And then he testified to Daniel as a witness to the end times events what was going to happen with the children of Abraham, of which Daniel was one, but Daniel had been castrated. He was never going to have his own children. What was going to happen to his race? He's a slave in Babylon. And yet this messenger comes across time and tells him exactly what's going to happen in the future. And then he complains or states that he had to fight an angel, which was in Daniel's future, the angel over Persia. Persia didn't even exist yet. On his way to Daniel, and this angelic being fought two angels fighting, and then a third angel had to show up and relieve the angel that was fighting with the angel of Persia, and then continue to Daniel to give him this message about what was going to happen in the future. When you think about that story, it's so disconnected from the reality that most people live in, you know, their lives day to day. And yet it's right there in the scriptures. Very, you know, these are wild, crazy ideas and encounters. So, you know, I have to step back from some of what we understand and believe. I have certain anchors that are critical. And of course, as you said, you know, you have a personal relationship with Christ. But you must have had to go through a lot of gymnastics, mental gymnastics, in trying to reconcile some of the things that you're seeing, encountering, observing, while trying to reconcile that with your Christian beliefs. Am I saying it right? Is that what happened with you?
We have a saying, just because you're dead doesn't mean you're enlightened, and just because you're an ET doesn't mean you're benevolent. And so people really need to be discerning. And, you know, Jesus said, by their fruits you should know them. So, and you look at people, if they're stepping outside of universal law, and again, we talked about, you know, it's basically universal peace, brother, sister love, individual freedom, and prosperity for everyone, or just being kind and loving to each other and the planet. Basically, if their works do not fit into that category, right away, you got to use discernment and cut that connection, or stop dealing with these people. But the problem is there's a lot of faker spirits out there that come in, and some will say they're Jesus, or some will say they're some God, or God, little g God from the past, or things like that. And they'll tell you you're the chosen one, and you're this and you're that, and they play on your ego. And then pretty soon, before you know it, everything you do is, you're not even doing it anymore. These other beings are working through you, and you're, you know, everything's about you. You know, you become self-serving, you become really egotistical, and it's a very slippery slope. And you've got to use like impeccable integrity, and, you know, be morally on track, you know, and things like that, or you'll fall off the deep end there. And they prey on your ego, and they'll use money and fame and things like that to get you to do their bidding. And very few people can and will not fall for that. I mean, these beings are very tricky. They're very good at what they do. And, you know, I don't want to sound like a you know, Bible thumper or whatever else, but it's in there. It's in the Bible. It's in all the sacred books. They talk about these entities and these beings and how to avoid them. And they even teach you techniques in some cases on how to heal these unseen negative influences and shield yourself and move them on, and keep yourself aligned with the highest consciousness and energy, or that pure unconditional love and joy and bliss. And so that's where I've come. I've experienced so much of it. I mean, I'm not trying to toot my horn or whatever, but I've seen the deepest, darkest entities to the top, to the highest, most benevolent, loving, joyous entities. And in between,
Well, let me stop you for a second. Let me ask you a quick question. You know, Christ was asked by one of the people that was, a keeper of the law and like that, a Pharisee, and they were trying to trick him into some kind of an answer. But I don't think this question was a trick question exactly. It was a sincere question, and this person who knew all of the law, knew all of the rules as a Pharisee, 613 different things that you must, follow to be a Pharisee, etc. As within that realm of Judaism, and he asked Christ. He said, "Of the law and the commandments, what is the most important one, as far as God in heaven?" And Christ didn't point out one of the 10 commandments. He didn't point out one of the Pharisaic laws. He said, to love one another as you yourself would be loved. And so he encapsulated all of the rest of it. So if you were going to say there's a universal laws or law, you were kind of saying that same thing, even in what you said. And of course, people get caught up in every single word,
yeah,
of what it would have been, say, in Greek or Hebrew. And yet, even here in the English language, I have dozens of different Bibles, if you will, interpretations of the same original text, where they've tried to use different words that may have been more relevant in the different time periods, like liberty or libertine. Meant something completely different 200 years ago than what it does today. In most cases, because the language has morphed, or the interpretations and meanings within the culture have morphed. So words do mean things, but in different times that could have morphed within people's understanding. And so that's why even in talking with you, kind of working through the meaning of the words you're using, to see where we're actually in agreement. We might just be speaking slightly different language, but ultimately, when you get to the definition of the words, we're actually saying the same things. And then knowing if we do disagree on something, that we actually do have a difference of opinion, and why, as opposed to just, we're using a word and I think of this word meaning this thing and you think of this word meaning that thing. A good example of it's called semantics is, if I see a newspaper headline, um, Air Force defeats Army in an air war, and you think, oh my gosh, it's the conflict over in Ukraine, and the Air Force of one country is just destroying the ground force of the other country. But the reality is, it was the Air Force Army football game, and it was a passing war. And so they were passing the ball a bunch. Well, there's context. There's different things. If you go into the conversation, and let me just say this, so I have a beautiful audience that I get the blessing to be able to even interact with, that over this last many years, that in large measure have their people that are spiritual. They have faith. There may be different, core faiths in there, Protestant, Catholic, Jew, and even a large number of Muslims. But at the point that I start the conversation, they're starting with a certain basic understanding of who God in heaven is, the Father. And so we can agree on certain key points right off the bat. And then as we get into kind of some of these side trails and minutia, well, this group believes this and that group believes that. We have the same core belief, but now we got to do some discussion, and even have, it's very productive, if you will, sometimes to have some of those discussions. Other times in the broader war, I got to come back to the core principle: love one another, as you yourself would be loved and operate accordingly. And some of these issues are like fish bones that they're really not useful to me in the short term. If I throw them in the ground, let them rot for, a couple of years and grind them up, the plants can digest them. The various microbes can digest them and turn them into something useful, but it's going to take some time. And so within even what you're doing, this is why I think it's fun to have the conversation with you. There's things going on in this world that we should be talking about and that we should be understanding. There's some kind of a hidden influence there in the way our world is working from a couple different directions that if we want to go deeper, it's not wasted time. It's not wasted conversation because it's affecting how our world works. Let me use an example and tell me if you think that I'm right on this. Over the last few days, because of stuff that my wife is doing related to parasites and the various, biology around them, including the bacteria that live on the parasite skin. I'll use this example. I had a young kid that I was helping out decades and decades ago, and he had a physical problem where he couldn't breathe if he exerted himself too much. This young boy, 7, 8, 9 years old. And so if he exerted himself much at all, just walking up the stairs, he'd be out of breath, and he had an inhaler, and he would have to breathe on that inhaler. And he kept it on him all the time because if he couldn't breathe, not being able to breathe, that's one of those things that, it's as scary of an experience as you can possibly have. You're literally suffocating, gasping for that next breath. So I recognized it pretty instantly as being a parasitic thing in the lungs, which is where they're the most vulnerable. And where he'd been living had a lot of cats. He liked cats, but the cats tend to have contact and carry a lot of parasites. And birds are the same way, even more so. And so I had him checked for parasites, and they, in fact, did find that there was parasites present. Very few doctors do this. I had to go find one that this was their specialty. And sure enough, he just was loaded with parasites. So we took measures to eliminate the parasites. In a few months, he stopped carrying his inhaler. He never had a problem again the rest of his life. He'd been told over and over he'd never be able to do sports. He'd never be able to be heavily active. He'd always have to adjust to it, and he always had 3 or 4 inhalers, and he'd have inhalers hidden. Even when you thought he only had one left, he always had hidden stuff that he knew he could go grab if he had to. And that's, it went from that to never even thinking of an inhaler. I just talked to him the other day. He hasn't bought an inhaler since those days. He's never again needed an inhaler or felt the need for it. And once he knew what was going on, he's adjusted his diet and been very sensitive to these things in his environment. So now I come back to the body politic of, say, America and other countries, as well as even, let's say, into the church or other functions of us as humanity. His life was changed by a parasitic presence in his lungs. And everything he did was different because of that. Are we as a people subject to some kind of parasites? Look at all the positions that Trump is eliminating in the federal government. Look at all of the jobs and roles, and they're all parasitic, as though they're here to help us, but they're not helping. They're draining energy, and they're boring holes into places in the body politic of the country and the world that, left alone, they're doing permanent damage. So in the things that you're seeing, you're doing, are you actually seeing real entities that most people aren't considering? And you're seeing some of these entities or presences that may very well be parasitic on the people of the earth, the functions of the earth that are changing the way that we work and operate. And most people aren't even aware of it. And yet they're present. And you're, from a young age, having seen their interactions and been tracking it even up till now. And they're real entities, spirits, some more physical than others. Am I saying something that fits with what you're seeing?
Yeah, 100%. Well, on a physical level, I don't know if you probably can't see it. This bottle I'm drinking right now is super oxygenated water. It actually has crystallized oxygen in it, and you almost don't even need to breathe when you drink it. But it goes after any virus or bacteria or even any kind of contaminant, and it breaks it down to a crystalline form. It becomes food for your body. So you might want to look. It's Langenberg oxygenated water.
Where's that? Show it to me again. I can see yours.
I don't think you can see it.
I can. Yep, I saw it
Yeah,
there. Okay. All
right
right.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is the red label. It's the medical grade. But I would really look into that because that's counteracting a lot of the things we're getting hit with right now. So
I do the blue label and I call it medical grade.
yeah. Yeah. Do that. Bless it. Yeah, but it's funny the analogy you're using is very true. We all have these, I call them hitchhikers. A lot of people don't even know it. And they have parasites, like physical parasites in them. They also have spiritual parasites. And if you go into a bar or something, they're waiting. These beings are waiting there to jump on you and get you to take that extra drink and that other. There is a monkey on your back, but it's not necessarily a monkey. It's a discarnate spirit trying to get its hit vicariously through you. And so they do wreak havoc in your life. They can make you sick, ill, create a lot of accidents. They put thoughts in your head. And I tell people not all the thoughts that are coming to you are yours because these other beings are influencing you constantly, because we have a body, a physical body, a mental and emotional body, and a spiritual body. And actually, we're a multidimensional being existing on a vibrational continuum. So I'm kind of talking about high physics right now because I have a real strong science background too. But there's beings that exist along that vibrational continuum, and we're multidimensional beings, and we're influenced by these beings, either good or bad. And so what we really teach people is how to sense these energies, how to clear these energies, and how to stay on the foundation that we were talking about earlier. Like, I think Jesus was saying, love God with all your heart and, treat your neighbor like yourself. There's a lot of different renditions of that. That's a basic foundation. And when you get out of that and you start, and your old wounds and traumas and wrong conclusions from past experience start surfacing, you start acting outside of universal law and you create karma or action reaction. So our focus is to clear that body, mind, and spirit and get people plugged in to the highest consciousness and energy and kind of clear out these unseen negative influences that people are dealing with. And some of them can be seen, but you got to use a microscope, and some of them can be seen if you use like infrared or you use technology that can see into these other dimensions. You can actually see these beings connected to people. And so,
let me just say something. There was a person that I dealt with years ago, and he, was addicted to alcohol.
yeah.
And even it was the taste, it was other things. And I would even say that this was somebody that had a military history, and he didn't get that until he had been in a bit, and he would say developed this taste for it. But when you actually looked at what happened, I don't think that it's far off that he may very well have actually had a physical addiction based on some kind of parasitic bloom that happened within his body. When you have a sugar craving, if you have certain parasites in your system, you'll have a sugar craving. And so in that case, and there's thousands of different parasites that are out there in the world. So saying you don't know, well, if they're present, they can affect the way that you think and react, even your gut reaction to certain circumstances. His gut reaction was alcohol to get his nerves under control, and he would say that it was to keep his nerves calm. But he switched from alcohol and went into drugs, and he described something to me that I thought was very interesting. He remembers the moment that he was in like a alcohol thing, and he was laying on a floor in a corner, and in the place where he was at, and he looked up in the upper corner of the wall, and it was like his eyesight shifted slightly. And all of a sudden, he could see an entity in the corner of this room he was in the wall. And he described it pretty precisely. And he said it was like leprechaunish, but it was green and it had kind of a demon look to it. And there was some conversational exchange of a second or two. And he literally said, okay. And this entity jumped on him. And from that point forward, he recognized that entity as being the monkey on his shoulder, if you will, that literally was conversing with him. And his actions were tuned to that, even to introducing him to other drugs. And he had to be physically delivered or exorcised of that entity that he had literally gotten into a conversal relationship with over time, and had to be delivered of that demon. And that demon was really living on him like a parasite. To me, that would be the only way of kind of interpreting that. And he made it seem very, very, very tangible and real and visual. Whereas most people that might have a demonic presence that's attached to them or even entered into them, they wouldn't necessarily describe having seen it. He saw it that one time and he never saw it again, but he knew it was present. And and to me, I would describe that just like we have physical parasites, are these spiritual parasites, but they have a physical, they change our physiology by their presence, if you will, or they get us to adjust our physiology to favor their presence. If your personal will is diminished, and his was because he was under this alcohol influence, then his normal restraints against an entity attaching to him would have normally kicked in and kept that entity, and probably were in place to keep that entity from attaching to him. And it obviously had to probably be around waiting for the right moment of weakness, the right moment where an interaction would give him some kind of legal right to attach to him. Okay, as simple as that might sound, did he give the devil or one of his minions legal access to his physical body?
Yeah, obviously. Yeah, obviously did. The way I kind of look at that, I mean, I can use the biblical terms or other terms more scientifically, that we live in a vibrational continuum of multiple planes and dimensions, and everything is happening at once around us. And some of us are just aware of what's happening in the physical world, or we'll have our emotions and thoughts and beliefs in the world, but there's worlds within worlds going on all around us, and those are influencing us. And so a lot of times when people are very sick or very ill, their frequency goes way down, and they start connecting into these other worlds. Like if you're doing meth or a lot of these drugs open the doors to this. Even some of the plant medicine, if you don't know what you're doing, you can open the door to have these entities jump in, and then they own you basically. And some people
Well, would another way of saying that be that when you, for example, people that are vegan or vegetarian, they don't want animal products that they eat directly. They also don't want animal products that are used in the digestive processes for fertilizers, for example, because they don't want that DNA in their physical body. And it goes, I've explained to people, that the DNA actually has a resonance. Every person's DNA, based on the way that the DNA is constructed, they're like little tuning forks. And what is shown typically in these generated pictures as a DNA strand looks like a ladder with a long twisting form. It's actually more of a Y shape, and it's acts like a tuning fork. And so each one of those 4-part DNA segments acts like a little tuning fork. And so you have trillions of them in a DNA strand that create their own unique note that is you. And so your body is literally making music. Now, if you introduce, even as a product to be digested by your system and the energy from it absorbed into your physical body, it does affect the note. It can act like, I played trombone and trumpet as a kid, and we had mutes that you could stuff into the end of the horn to muffle the sound. And there were different types of mutes that would give it more of a bass sound or more of a treble sound. And so there was different kinds of mutes that were available. So even the same instrument, but where you're changing the valves or the slide to hit a slightly different note, but it's still a trombone or a trumpet or a French horn or something like that. If other DNA is introduced into your physical body, does it change the note somewhat? If entities or demons are attaching to you, is it changing or muffling your natural note of your physical body? Are they attaching to the DNA strands in your body in such a way that they're choking off a note or the music that your body would normally do? And in the aggregate, in some large measure. And so, are we aware of that? Are we operating accordingly? You are the food you eat at some level. Does that click with you?
Yeah. It's, to me, I feel you want to eat really close to nature, as close as you can. Now, I tried to do vegan for a long time and it just didn't work for me. I think it might be my body type or whatever. And I've heard a lot of that. Like I grow almost all my own food. Every place I go becomes a food bank, and I eat mainly off the land. But I think we transmute a lot of that. To me, it's just kind of fuel. There's a lot of stories I can go into where even the llamas eat meat, the Native Americans eat meat, and we can't say they're unspiritual or unawake because they don't eat meat, or because they eat meat. I mean, but there's a lot of that's a whole show in itself.
Oh,
but,
yeah.
But anyway, to me, it's like, bless your food for one thing. Give thanks to the creator, give thanks to the people who prepared it and whatever you're eating. And it's real important to do that. But I just try not to be a Nazi, a food Nazi or anything, and kind of take the middle path. But
go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I want to go back into that body politics. I mean, we're going to have to do a whole nother show about this, but our body politics is also infected, like you were saying, by these same energies. And some people are really infected by parasites, you might say, which lowers their frequency down so these other energies can come in. They've been affected by wounds and traumas from past experience, childhood experiences. And there's a lot of different reasons why their frequencies were dropped down to where these other entities can come in. And what we're seeing right now in the Great Awakening is a multidimensional experience going on, where from the pure physical level all the way up through the dimensions is being cleaned up, all the way back to God, Creator, Great Spirit, whatever name you want to give it. And it's like that higher consciousness and energy is pressing in on the earth, and everything is being revealed. Everything is being seen. Like, Jesus said, like, all the iniquities will be shouted from the rooftops and no rock will be left unturned. We're going through that process right now. And it's because a higher consciousness and energy is raising the frequencies, and the lower consciousness and energy can't function anymore. It's on a downward spiral of evolution. So we have that choice right now. Are we going to take the upward spiral? Or are we going to take the downward spiral? And we're seeing a parting, like the wheat being separated from the chaff right now. And you can actually explain it scientifically or spiritually, either way. But it's obvious it's happening right now, and we're on the upward spiral, and nobody can stop what's coming. It's if people knew the magnitude of what's behind this, most people couldn't handle it.
Well, do you think that some of that, and I'll lose 9/10 of our audience, but we'll try to explain in a moment. Do you think that fits into the Yuga cycle? Is that something that you've looked at ever?
Yeah, I have. I've looked at those cycles. There's a major planetary alignment right now coming in. The sun is going ballistic. All of this is happening at once. It's not just one thing. And I just look at it as higher consciousness and energy in, garbage out. It's kind of like, I like to keep things really simple, but it's all about, we have to raise our frequencies because the earth itself is ascending. And if we don't match the frequency as she's going forward, we're not going to be around. We're going to lose our bodies.
Well,
and
let me define this for some of the listeners that have never heard this before. The Yuga cycle is in some of the Eastern religions, they see time periods for humanity where you have half of the period or whatever, a little less than half, is what they would describe as copper or brass, and where the humanity, in its broad terms, is not as sophisticated, smart, technical, that brain function somehow is lessened societally for humanity, and so we're not very productive, we're not very creative. Then you'll have a less period of time, but what's a silver age. And as I recall, it's like, maybe a third of the amount of time that in these cycles, this long cycles, like a multi-thousand-year cycle. And then you'll have a golden age that is relatively short, 1,000 years or something. And that we operate at a much higher level, that thought patterns, construction, mentally, we are hyper supercharged, okay? And this golden age of creativity and genius and love and interaction. The longer, lower cycle is more bestial. And so if you were to translate that into, say, the DNA, there's something going on in the physics. And of course, I talk about it from time to time, the subatomic physics, the subatomic matter, the dark matter that you don't see physically yet exists, below the Planck length, if you will. We can't directly observe it or manipulate it because our tools are too big and clumsy. But it's interesting, you look out across space, the universe, and depending on who you're listening to, 98, 99% of the density, we don't see it's dark matter, and we're only seeing a very tiny fraction physically of what's out there, or even able to measure it, etc. And with this Yuga cycle, um, some of the better authors, I think, on this have identified that it used to be thought it was just a rarity that stars would have a binary or a trinary partner. In other words, uh, uh, like where they're orbiting each other. We have planets that orbit our sun as the center of their orbital plane. But our sun, we believe in certain circles, and I think it's accurate, has a dark partner that you don't see. It doesn't give off light for various reasons that's readily detectable. And that binary partner is out there. It's affecting the way that our sun moves and is going through our galaxy. They're literally orbiting each other, and as they go in and out, they're kind of going back and forth. They don't come into each other and collide. They're in this combined orbit that it's kind of an oblong orbit, and so they move closer to each other and further away. Now, the reason that's important, and you can go look up binary star systems and kind of see how they work. The reason that's important is because when they're coming together physically, especially in the subatomic physical plane, the communications of information energy in the subatomic plane, which is near instantaneous, many, 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 many times the speed of light. It's not infinitely faster. There is a speed limit there, but just like there's a speed of light, there's a speed of communication within that dark matter. But it's way, way, way faster. And so things appear at a distance to happen almost instantaneously. For example, just to give people a kind of a picture, if you're looking with the right kind of a device, if we look for the light from a nearby star, and I did this myself with some folks one time just to demonstrate it. We were looking at a star that's 50 light years out. So we're looking optically. Now, if I look using the other physics, I don't see the star there. Using the other physics, that energy is moving 64 times the speed of light in this area of our galaxy. So approximately that. So at 50 light years away, it takes 50 years for light from that star to reach the Earth. But in 50 years, the star and our solar system, our sun system, have moved significantly. So I don't see any dark energy, if you will. But if I anticipate, well, over the last 50 years, it's moved from here to here. Now, if I go look there, where would that star be physically right now? Even though I'm seeing the light from 50 years ago. And if I look there, now I see very clearly a dark matter image or pattern of energy at that exact location. And so now I go to us with the body politic. As much of what's going on in the world right now, we're operating based on what we see physically at light speed. But within, say, the spiritual world, this denser reality, remember the subatomic world is orders and orders and orders and orders and orders of magnitude more dense than the physical world. So, for example, if I had just one cup of dark matter, just one coffee cup of dark matter, this cup right here, If I had that cup and it was just dark matter, which by the way, it's full of dark matter. That cup is full of dark matter. Okay. But you have to have a way of accessing it. It's very low energy individually, but if you know how to tap it, it's extremely high energy. That cup, if I was to tap it for all the energy that's available to it, all the BTUs of energy encapsulated, if I knew how to extract the energy there, I could take all the water in all the oceans on planet Earth, and with the energy in this one cup, I could reach boiling and boil them all off to vapor. All the oceans on the entire planet with just one cup of dark matter. That's how dense. Think, if I had a cup of gasoline and make a big poof, but it wouldn't boil all the water in the oceans. It might only barely boil a gallon of water. But yet there's enough potential energy in that cup, if it's in a dark matter plane, to boil all the water off the whole Earth. Well, if I have spirits or entities that operate in that realm, and they have some fractional way to tap some of that energy, the effects that they can have into the physical world are pretty amazing, be they demons or angels.
Yeah.
And so then I turn around and I say, okay, how much of what we're dealing with right now is kind of like that? We don't fully grasp the energies in play, even to God himself, the divine, the God that can control energy at that level. And we barely can contemplate and understand how he does it just in this physical realm, which is very foamy, it's very thin. And he does it in other dimensions and with, as you said, vibrational energy or resonances, which by the way is what Tesla, the way he saw it with the 369 math as opposed to a base 10, base 9, and starting to understand the way things work, the underlying systems that support everything that we visually see in the visual wavelengths, light wavelengths. Understanding that there's more there is maybe the start of it.
I think that's, I think we're gone over, hopefully not, but we're right at the edge of being out of time here, unfortunately. And I think we could do a 10-hour show and cover all of this, real easy, but we're going to have to sign off. So is there one major message that you'd like to leave humanity right now?
For all that we see physically going on in the politics around the globe, this exact second, God reigns supreme. There is. I look forward to talking with you more on some of these things.
Have to do it again. Yeah, we're out of time. Unfortunately, we only have an hour show, so we always leave with telling everybody just keep an open mind, loving heart, and pure intent, and stick to the basics, and you'll get through these times. And I can't thank you enough, Juan, for coming on the show, and we'll definitely go deeper into this stuff. There's a lot of areas I wanted to cover that we didn't get into.
James, it was a great introduction. I hope your audience enjoyed it and kind of rambled a bit.
So it was actually a really interesting show, and it's an interesting way of looking at things, even in the political world. What we see is happening in the news is happening on a level for us that I imagine the people in Trump's world are operating on things that are way, way further ahead than what we're actually experiencing ourselves. If that makes any sense. It's difficult to think that way. Anyway, it's a pretty good show, and I look forward to seeing where they go from there. It's kind of a trip when you start talking stuff like that, but it's fascinating. I don't know. I find it fascinating. The Earth, Sun, Dark Star, fun stuff. Anyway, that is all I've got for you, though, guys. It's been a pretty good week. It's a end of another week. Tomorrow's Monday, and I'm sure it'll be a busy one, like all the ones before it. And so things here will be changing over the week. Eventually, we'll see a lot of changes happening. So I'll keep the chair around, though. I may not sit in it anymore after I put up a green screen, but we'll keep it. We'll keep it for memories, Anyway, guys, hope you enjoyed the show. Have a good rest of your night. And I will, like always, see you guys tomorrow. God bless and much love.
Something has shifted. It's like everything makes sense now. To anyone else on this this adventure, fucking kudos, because to anyone who's been on it before and has helped all of us coming along afterwards, thank you. It all makes sense. I know, don't worry, I know I've got a shit ton to learn, but something's clicked for me, and I hope it is for all of you. Just like it all makes sense, Yeah, I don't know how else to explain it. There you go. Have a fucking great day.
So Barron Trump releases a tweet, and y'all know he's a young man of few words. So when he does speak, it speaks volumes. And he said, some people would say I'm a pessimist and some people would say I'm a realist. He said, and what I'm about to tell you is that we're on the brink of uncovering a dark legacy that has went on in this country for far too long. He said, if you are struggling to understand how your ex-government could do such awful things, he said, either brace yourself or go hide until someone saves you. He said, I truly believe the dam is breaking, and regardless of how it unfolds, the truth is coming. He said, people on a state and federal level are about to lose sleep. So think about it, y'all. It took the richest man in the world who couldn't be bought to uncover loads of corruption, and they haven't even tapped into 1%. And you know what they say, when you throw a rock at a group of dogs, the one that squeals the loudest is usually the most guilty. Well, when you get people like Elizabeth Warren and all these other people speaking out, being loud, it's because they know that their names are about to be exposed.
your face before, my friend, but I don't know if you know who I am. Well, I was there and I saw what you did. I saw it with my own two eyes. So you can wipe off that grin, know where you've been, solving a packed life. And I can feel it coming in the air tonight. Oh Lord, well I've been waiting for this moment all my life. Oh Lord, I can feel it coming in the air tonight. Oh Lord, well I've been waiting for this moment all my life. Oh Lord, oh Lord. Well, I remember, don't worry. How could I ever forget? It's the first time and the last time we ever met. But I know the reason why you keep your silence, sir. No, you don't fool me, 'cause the hurt doesn't show, but the pain still grows. So stranger to you and me, I can feel it coming in the air tonight. Oh Lord, I've been waiting for this moment for all my life. Oh Lord, I can feel it coming in the air tonight. Oh Lord, I've been waiting for this moment all my life. Oh Lord, I feel it coming in the air tonight. Oh Lord, I've been waiting for this moment all my life. Oh Lord, I feel it coming in the air. I feel it coming in the air. I've been waiting for this moment all my life. Waiting for this moment all my life, my life.
Elon in his rocket ship, taking names and cracking whips. DOGE in his pocket, riding high, cutting red tape. Watch him fly, he's got balls of steel, don't you know? Slashing waste and making dough. USA did, getting the axe. Ending corruption, that's a fact. Dodging haters left and right, crushing norms with all his might. Big ideas in his brain, turning chaos into gain. He's got balls of steel, don't you know? Forgetting rules, he's stealing show. Bureaucracy on the run, Elon's fight has just begun. Standing tall to pay the rent. He's got balls of steel, don't you know? Iron fist, he makes it flow. Kicking out the wasteful crew in the end. It's all brand new. Dodging haters left and right, crushing norms with all his might. Big ideas in his brain, turning chaos into gain. He's got balls of steel, don't you know? Forgetting rules, he's stealing show. Bureaucracy on the run, Elon's fight has just begun. Elon's fight has just begun. Standing tall above the rest, taking on the hardest test. Gutting what's been overspent, using DOGE to pay the rent. He's got balls of steel, don't you know? Iron fist, he makes it flow. Kicking out the wasteful crew in the end. It's all brand new. It's all brand new.
Tilt. What to Miller, and Miller dropped the gloves, and Perico's going to answer. And Perico, the way, speeds Eichel into the zone, flipping it through, scores! Game tied, as Team USA has answered. And away goes Larkin, it's a 2-on-1, Larkin scores! Dylan Larkin, and Team USA has the lead. Larkin with the open net, across to Gensel, scores! Jake Gensel's got his second, and a clincher here for Team USA. That's going to do it. A hard-fought Team USA victory.
It's called Secret Pizza Party. Tomorrow we got Pepper. Then you're going to love this book. Oreo pepperoni. Here, Sebastian, look. Pepperoni. The end.
An old cowboy went riding out one dark and windy day. Up on a ridge he rested as he went along his way, when all at once a mighty herd of red-eyed cows he saw plowing through the ragged skies and up a cloudy draw. Their brands were still on fire and their hooves were made of steel. Their horns were black and shiny, and their hot breath he could feel. A bolt of fear went through him as they thundered through the sky, for he saw the riders coming hard, and he heard their mournful cry. Yippee-i-oh, yippee-i-oh. Ghost riders in the sky. Their faces gaunt, their eyes are blurred, their shirts all soaked with sweat. He's riding hard to catch that herd, but he ain't caught 'em yet. 'Cause they've got to ride forever on that range up in the sky, on horses snorting fire. As they ride on, hear their cry. As the rider sloped on by him, he heard one call his name. If you want to save your soul from hell riding on our range, then cowboy, change your ways. If they are with us, you will ride, trying to catch the devil's herd across these endless skies. Yippee-i-oh. Riders in the sky. Ghost riders in the sky. Ghost riders in the sky.
I think in 50 years we'll look back, I'll be long dead, but wise people look back at the Trump phenomenon and see it as much bigger than the man, but as a realignment of the parties and of American society. And as Bobby Kennedy said last night, in the last election, 2020, Biden voters held 70% of the country's wealth, and Trump voters held 30%. So who's the party of the rich and powerful? Of course, it's the Democratic Party. It's an inversion.
And the Democratic Party is not the Democratic Party that I grew up with. It's not the Democratic Party of Robert Kennedy or John Kennedy. That was the party of peace. It was the party of civil rights and constitutional rights. It's now the party of censorship and surveillance and war. The Democratic Party is now the party of big pharma, big tech, big military industrial complex, the big banks, Wall Street, big data, and the big media. They've forgotten about the constituencies that I grew up with in the Democratic Party, the cops, the firefighters, the labor unions. The Democratic Party, when I was growing up, was the party of the poor, the working poor, the middle class. Today, it's the party of the super rich.
I, like many other patriots, are pigs in shit today. If you don't know what that means, it means we're happy as fuck. Because we're sitting back now watching the chaos, watching the self-loathing purge happening with the Democrat Party. Look at these fucking losers. Maxine Waters, Chuck Schumer, Pocahontas, AOC, Jeffries, all calling for banging on the door of the Board of Education because it's going to be overhauled and they have nothing to do. They can't fucking change it. Everything's changing. See, because you Democrats fucked it all up. Not only for everybody in the country, specifically for you fucking Democrats. Now, you moderates are the ones to blame because you let your radicals take this to the moon. We're supposed to seesaw like this, conservative, liberal, and we clash, and then we stay right here in this fucking ball. But you Democrats let the radicals in your party take it to the fucking moon and fucked it all up, and now it's punching you and your fat fucking head. See, the Board of Education is going to change up now. No more letting kids and teaching kids that men can have babies and that they could cut their dicks off and be a girl if they want to in school without telling mommy or daddy. That shit's all changing. No more boys and men and burly, hairy men walking into a little girl's locker room or bathroom, or in sports where these big men could smash the women's faces open. And that's all over. See, and you can't handle it. The border, all of a sudden you're upset because we're deporting illegal, violent criminals, and you can't handle it all. You motherfucking Democrats are eating yourselves alive. You're ripping your bodies inside out, crawling with maggots. We can see the bone marrow inside your bones and your skeleton, and you're just eating each other, and it is fucking priceless. Because you made this fucking bed and you got to sleep in it, bed bugs and all.
Everybody got to go. I talk about the midnight
some of the latest slides how this disease, which we surmised early on, started off in the male homosexual population in this country. Not that there was anything intrinsically different or wrong or what have you about homosexuality. It was very simple. It's straightforward epidemiology. You take an infectious agent and you introduce it into a population in which the spread among those individuals, if it's sexual contact spread, it's a perfect setup to spread. In any event, what we had was a concentration of cases, as you'll see here, in the New York metropolitan area, New York City and New Jersey, and in Los Angeles. You take an infectious agent and you introduce it into a population. You take an infectious agent and you introduce it into a population. You take an infectious agent and you introduce it into a population in which the spread among those individuals, if it's sexual contact spread, it's a perfect setup to spread.
One of the commitments that I made to the American people was that we would do a better job here in Washington in rooting out wasteful spending. We don't need to wait for Congress in order to do something about wasteful spending that's out there.
You fucker! You laughed, you mocked, you shut us down. Called us names, tried to run us out. You pushed too hard, took too much. Now you're the ones who've lost their touch. You rigged the game, you changed the rules. Gaslit the world, played us for fools. But tides have turned, the storm is near. Cry all you want, we're still here. Faithful, fuck around and find out. You tried to rule, but your time ran out. Faithful, the silent will stay quiet now. We're taking back what you burned to the ground. Censorship, lockdowns, all your control. Built your throne on a house of gold. Now you panic, now you cry. Tears don't work, truth don't lie. The games are done, the mask fell off. No more lies, we've had enough. You played with fire, now taste the flame. This time, we're naming names. Faithful, fuck around and find out. You tried to rule, but your time ran out. Faithful, the silent won't stay quiet now. We're taking back what you burned to the ground. You called us threats, you called us extreme, but we remember everything. From 24 and beyond, take your best.